Good evening, everyone. So, we are standing at the precipice of the greatest revelation in human history. The truth about who we are, where we come from, and what has been hidden from us is about to be unleashed to the general public. So, for centuries, the world has been controlled by deception, but now the veils are lifting. The hidden forces that have manipulated humanity through secrecy and illusion are actually losing their grip, and the floodgates of disclosure are about to open. Welcome, everybody. My name is Ishmael Perez, for those that don't know me, and I am the author of two amazing books. One of them is called The Secret Government, Invisible Architects, and the other one's called Our Cosmic Origin, both which reveal the true history of the Earth and restore galactic information back to the Earth. And this is the moment. This is the greatest moment to be alive. This is the greatest shift in human consciousness that is about to take place. The illusion of division, fear, and scarcity will be replaced by love, unity, and abundance for all of humanity and all living things. Humanity is living in a time where we're going to finally step into our divine potential, reclaiming our sovereignty and embracing the future that was always meant for us. I do want to welcome all my new subscribers that are on here. I have a fabulous white hat update. Looks like Mr. T just pulled the plug on the pharmaceutical company. If you guys know what I mean, I'm going to use the word pharma, big B, all right? Among other things that have been happening from behind the scenes, he has declared checkmate to the deep state. And for many people that are aware, big pharma, right, has been owned by the what? The Rockefellers, right? So for those that are here on the live, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every single one of you. And I also want to extend gratitude for everyone that's going to be watching this on the replay. Without you guys, I wouldn't have people to talk to or give reports to. So I'm grateful to each and every single one of you. So let's get right to it. Oh, but before I do, again, there is a marvelous natural holistic product that you could say, what's the word I'm looking for? Deletes, distracts, and eliminates completely all metals, radiation, and of course, the graphene, if you guys know what I mean, from people's bodies. I always put the link in the description, and I always pin it as the comment because it is a product that will actually help your body get rid of all these toxins so that you could be able to ascend when the solar flash takes place. All right, so let's get right to it. The game is over for the deep state, guys, because Mr. T has just fired the deadliest shot yet in his battle against the globalist pharmaceutical cabal. Okay, this is not a political stunt. This is the dismantling of an empire built on human suffering, disease, and death. So there's going to be no more secrets, no more excuses. The tyrants who made trillions at the expense of people getting sick by drugging them with these chemicals are now about to fall. So at exactly 3 p.m. Eastern time on Truth Social, Mr. T announced that he would soon be making one of the most important and impactful announcements of his life. And he wasn't exaggerating, okay? 3 hours later, he broke the internet and the backs of the medical cartels with a single post. Turns out that prescription, DRG prices in the US will be reduced by not 30%, but by 80% immediately, okay? This was not just a policy. This was a warning to the deep state pharmaceutical elite that their reign of terror is now coming to an end. So Trump's executive order, set to be signed at 9 a.m. 2 days ago at the White House, introduced a most favored nation pricing policy, forcing the United States to pay no more than the lowest price that any other country pays for the same drug. This isn't some mild reform. This is the equivalent of a missile strike on the core economic engine of the pharma elites who have looted America for decades. So they created a system where America pays up to 10 times more for the same drugs sold in other countries, drugs manufactured in the exact same facilities. and by the exact same companies. And this has never been about, you know, medicin, right? It was always about control. Keep the people sick, keep them poor, keep them dependent on our companies. And of course, they made trillions out of it. And research and development recently is now coming to the forefront that is actually going to put an end to that. And in turn, that will allow for the rollouts, for the rolling out, of course, medbed technology. So apparently, for a long time, the elites have scammed and used to justify making Americans the financial slaves of the medical industrial complex. But the R&D excuse is a myth and a smokescreen. These same companies that take US taxpayers funded research, patent it, outsource the manufacturing to China and India, and then they sell it back to the Americans at insane markups. Well, they made everyone, you could say, they they made you pay for the research, right? The production, and then extorted you at the counter for the cure. Okay. Meanwhile, the children go without insulin, your parents ration pills, and millions die every year because they can't even afford the poison labeled as what they called treatment. Okay, so this was never about health. Let's be real. This was about engineering dependency. The pharmaceutical elites don't want, of course, the real thing that puts an end to, CURES. They don't want that, right? They want customers for life. They want chronic illness because that's their business. So the big C, right? The big C is their gold mine: autism, Alzheimer's, diabetes, depression, and they don't seek to eliminate these conditions at all. They only seek to expand them. And when you look at the timelines of skyrocketing diseases, right, under new, right, new of these, experimental drugs, and FDA approvals, the pattern becomes terrifyingly clear. And Trump has always known about this, and so now he's working with JFK Jr., and they have been teaming up to bring down this trillion-dollar industry. So this was the final nail, checkmate to the, Rockefeller-run industry, right? Trump just confirmed what many feared, but few were brave enough to say, that Big Pharma owns Washington, except for him. They've bribed Congress, they blackmailed officials, and they bought the media. Okay. They built a fortress around themselves with blood money. And now Trump is kicking down the doors. Well, let's not pretend this came out of nowhere. The Pharma cabal has been after Trump since day one, right? Remember when they tried to promote safe and affordable therapeutics in 2020? They censored him, they mocked him, they unleashed a global fear campaign and shoved a rushed, poorly tested mRNA injection down their throats, while silencing, the DOCTORS scientists and patients that saw through the lies, and they buried the truth under a mountain of lies and down the word and drowned the world and these contracts by, Pfizer, Derna, and the other company. That entire operation was not about saving lives. It was about pushing one product, one narrative, and one agenda. And now the agenda is collapsing, right? Trump's executive order doesn't just save Americans trillions of dollars, it destroys the international pricing scam that was the foundation of the entire Big Pharma racket. These criminals can no longer force Americans to subsidize the rest of the world. If prices don't rise globally, they fall here, and with that, their profits crash. So this is where it's all leading, the crashing of big pharma. Okay, so our country will finally be treated fairly, and our citizens, health costs will be reduced by numbers never even thought of before as a result of this. And that means that the cash flow for big pharma will eventually stop, right? That means that the shareholders are now in panic. That means that the puppet masters behind the CDC, NIH, FD, three-letter agencies, and the WHO are starting to lose their grip. But this actually goes much deeper than money. Okay, according to the White Hat report, the global elite used pharmaceutical control as a tool of depopulation, social engineering, and biometric tracking. And first, of course, they make people ill, then they make you pay, right? Then they tag you with a QR code, a digital ID, and that status to just walk into a grocery store, right? Which is what happened in 2019. This wasn't healthcare, guys. This was a soft prison system rolled out under the guise of safety. Luckily now, Trump just punched a hole through their entire system. And, don't expect them to take it very light, okay? Expect fake news. Expect fake news hit pieces. Expect false medical crisis. Expect bought and paid for experts to scream on every mainstream outlet. But it won't even matter because the truth is now going to be out and the tide has turned. So this is not just about lowering DRUG prices. It's about literally liberating humanity from what is known as MEDICAL tyranny. Okay? It's about restoring dignity to millions who have suffered in the silence. It's about breaking the chains of chemical slavery that the elites placed on every working American family. So this is war, and Trump is in charge now. So Big Pharma is about to fall. The truth will rise, and America will never again be held hostage by the demons in lab coats. So, in addition to all of this, on an international scale, Chinese officials told Mr. T, or the T administration, that they discarded their trade commitments under Biden, believing he was too weak to enforce them. And in addition to that, Marjorie Taylor Greene dropped a bombshell claiming that key U.S. elites, including Israel and the United Kingdoms, may hold critical information tied to the Jeffrey files. So she's calling on those nations to come clean and release what they know. Okay. Greene also warned that much of the evidence may have already been destroyed. She made it clear that she doesn't believe the official story, insisting that the Jeffrey didn't really commit suicide, right? And that the UK just gave up its sovereignty over to the US. The UE is now in panic mode and China is on alert. So apparently the deal between the UK and the US has left people in shock, right? And what Trump slipped in at the last minute has huge implications. President Trump claims his administration prevented a nuclear war that was about to take place between India and Pakistan, and he did have them to agree on a ceasefire. Again, I've been saying this for almost a year now, that Mr. T is going to bring peace to the world and therefore get a Nobel Peace Prize as a result of that. It's already happening. Israeli Prime Minister, right, one of the working for the Antichrist, says that they might soon have to begin phasing out their reliance on the U.S. security aid. Well, I wonder why. Because Trump cut all ties with him, as reported in the last live. And then President Trump is set to sign an executive order that will slash, I've already mentioned this, right, prescriptions to at least 80%, okay, which means that big pharma is no longer going to be making their trillions. President Trump did declare that his upcoming announcement will be one of the most significant and impactful of his career. And I believe that has a lot to do with the fall of big pharma, okay? And then, in addition to all of this, guys, in addition to all of this, Sean Diddy's Combs trafficking trial will feature disturbing video evidence that his legal team tried to prevent from being shown in the courtroom. And it is believed that one of the females, one of his girlfriends, who was again sex abused, is going to be testifying in court today. So I wonder how that went. President Trump has signed an executive order instructing the DHS to deploy at least 2,000 law enforcement officers to execute what he described as the largest deportation in American history. And so Israel has warned that any unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state will prompt unilateral actions in response. And as I speak, as Trump is now turning against Netanyahu, Trump is going to help establish the Palestinian state, therefore bringing peace to the Middle East. And he will make sure that Israel accepts it, okay? FBI Director Dan Bongino has stated that extensive efforts are underway behind the scenes, with crimes against children being a top priority for the agency. The global war for humanity's future has entered its final and most brutal stage. And leading this unstoppable assault against the satanic elites is no other than, of course, Mr. T, Commander-in-Chief of the real America, the America that never surrendered, the Republic, and the America that will never recognize the fake Brandon regime. As of May 12th, which was yesterday. Or is it today? What's today? May 12th. Okay, so as of today, today is Monday, May 12th, 2025. We are still steadily on a positive timeline trajectory. So as of today, history changed forever, not because of elections, not because of politics, but because a real commander-in-chief refused to surrender to evil. Trump has launched the final phase of world liberation as of today, and nothing on earth or beyond will stop what happens next. Multiple trusted sources inside the White Hat military alliance have confirmed that over 3,200 high-level arrests have already taken place worldwide in the last 7 days alone. We're talking about BlackRock executives, Zeiser leadership, starts with a P, Vatican treasures, IMF and World Bank operatives, royal bloodline handlers, C, three-letter agency starts with a C, child transferring assets, faking, right? Media moguls directly involved in mind control programs. So the corrupt central banks have been hit hard as of today. Massive seizures of gold, whatever was left, cash, diamonds, including all the diamond reserves that were stolen due to the roundtable groups of the 1900s, right? Conducted by Cecil Rhodes and John Ruskins, for those that have read The Secret Government, have all been withheld or retrieved by the alliance. Not only that, but also data servers and classified documents are happening at light speed, okay? And this was never about the courtrooms. This is the military tribunals that are operating from behind the scenes. Cheyenne Mountain is fully activated, right? Which is the primary command center for the alliance. And the Trump's real command center. Let's just be real. The real Trump is there. The Trump you see on the TV is the actor, okay? So everything is being coordinated from inside the fortified mountain base, Cheyenne Mountains, now known simply as Trump's Vault by insiders. So now the Cheyenne Mountains has a new name. They call it Trump's Vault. That's where all the treasures and golds have been taken, okay, before they redistribute them to the people. So this is the operational brain of the global White Hat Alliance, right? Trump's vault. It bypasses every corrupt agency, every fake politician, every traitorous judge. Orders that come directly from Trump and his inner military command, that is known in code as Task Force Phoenix, is operable there, and they are leaving absolutely nothing to chance. Switzerland has fallen. That is another great news, right? The banksters are being rounded up as I speak. So just days ago, guys, White Hat forces infiltrated Zurich, Basel, and the infamous Bank for International Settlements, the BIS, the private central bank of the central banks. And what they found confirms everything we've always knew, okay? Secret gold vaults stacked with Nazi era treasures, weaponized digital currency servers designed to enslave humanity, ritual chambers linked to elite cult operations, human trafficking tunnels running beneath the financial districts. Swiss authorities are powerless. They are no longer in control. Okay. US special forces, in collaboration with loyal factions of European militaries, have seized enormous quantities of physical gold there, estimated to exceed, are you guys ready for this number? 300 trillion stolen from the people of the world over centuries, back in the hands of the White Hats. 300 trillion. That's how much money that they stole from humanity over the centuries. So the gold is being processed now into the global wealth redistribution program under GESERA, fully initiated by Trump's alliance, and the deep state's final hideout. As I mentioned a few weeks ago, Antarctica has also been under siege by the international White Hat military. I would like to share a little bit more about that, right? Massive military buildup has confirmed near Queen Maud Land, Antarctica. That's another name for it. Queen Maud Land, the final fortress of the Nazi globalist elite, right? Antarctica was never about research, as we were told. It was about the command centers for the Fourth Reich science operations, right? For those that are familiar with the secret space program known as the Dark Fleet, that was their main center of operations, Antarctica, and it has been up until a few years ago since the Alliance started taking it over. So also they had a lot of hidden advanced tech from Atlantis. So a lot of this advanced tech from Atlantis was never destroyed. It was hidden in Antarctica, okay? Also, portals used for off-world trade with other non-terrestrials they found there as well. Deep state cloning and hybridization programs. All of this stuff was confiscated by the Alliance. And right now, the U.S. Space Force, Russian loyalists, and special task forces from Brazil and India, which are all part of the Alliance, are encircling all of these bases as I speak. Okay. They are hunting the worst of the worst, whatever's left, the remnants of the ancient bloodline of Cain and Nimrod, who believe that they could outlast Trump's new earth. Okay. And why is nobody reporting on this? Because no one's going to tell you this, but I will tell you this on the real Ishmael Press, because the mainstream media is collapsing in real time. Okay. Yeah, now that the pharmaceutical cartel, as I explained in my book, The Secret Government, chapter 16, the pharmaceutical cartel, right, which is owned by the Rockefellers, that is pretty much the pinnacle of the entire cabal infrastructure. Okay. When that collapses, everything else falls. Okay. And executives from CNN, Fox, BBC, and Reuters have either fled or been arrested in secret military operations over the past 72 hours. So just within the last 72 hours, executives from major media outlets were taken and arrested. Okay, so a massive data leak is coming now. Thank God. The White Hat Alliance has in their possession video proof of ritual abuse at elite parties. And a lot of this corresponds with some of the footage that they're going to be releasing in the Diddy trial. Also, audio globalist bankers discussing depopulation plans. And of course, Oprah Winfrey was a big part of that. Emails confirming that the plan, DEMIC, right, was engineered in advance, right? Coordinates of every deep state bunker worldwide, all of that stuff was found and confiscated, or the evidence was confiscated by the alliance. And it's all coming to light through Trump's emergency broadcast system. So, yes, we're still scheduled to have an EBS worldwide. Okay. Fully armed and ready override of all communications with a final green light is given, but it's going to be an open EBS. I don't think there's going to be a lockdown. I think this EBS is going to be a little bit different. Okay. They don't want people to think that we're under martial law. Okay. So it's not going to happen like that. So apparently, all of this is leading to what we've all been waiting for, right? The Great Awakening, right? So, Trump's been warning us about this, right? That this is not just a metaphor, guys. This is a military fact. This is what's really happening. And the next days and the next week will shock the world, all right? Gesera's protocols redistribute cease wealth to the people. So part of the Gesera protocol is the redistribution of the world's wealth, which is 300 trillion. That's a lot of money, back to the people, right? So that means each and every single one of you is going to be a multi-millionaire, perhaps even a billionaire. Okay. Quantum financial systems are going to erase debt slavery forever, right? This is something that's going to be implemented by the quantum financial grid, which I've been talking about, in connections to the QFS. And then, of course, suppressed healing technologies are going to be released. Not to mention the secret space program truths are going to explode into the general public. People are going to lose their mind when they find out that within the private sector that we are over 1,000 years ahead of the surface world in technology, right? Colonizing space, colonizing other systems all throughout the Milky Way. People are going to lose their mind when they find this truth out. Not to mention the deep state bunkers are also going to be turned into prisons for their own creators. So what the White Hats are going to be doing here is, because the deep state did build these underground bunkers, right? Because they knew what was going to be happening. They knew that the great solar flash, which is going to take down the grid, was imminent. They knew that they were going to initiate or orchestrate a devastating world war that was going to eliminate 98% of the world population. They knew all this ahead of time. So, of course, they were going to build underground bases and bunkers. So now what's going to be happening is that the Alliance is going to use that against them, okay? So now the elites are running, all right, because Trump just checkmated them by taking out their biggest profiting company, which is the pharmaceutical cartel. The pharmaceutical cartel, Chapter 16 in the secret government. It's all there. Every chemical drug that they ever prescribe to people, and all the side effects are all in that book, guys. Okay, if you haven't read The Secret Government, Invisible Architects, there's so much information in there. Anyways, private jet activity is at historic levels, but not because of the elites winning. It's because of what the White Hats have been doing. Okay, they are fleeing. The elites are trying to flee, but they have nowhere to go because Space Force through Starlink, or may I say Starlink through Space Force, is tracking their every movement. They can't go in their underground cities anymore. Their bunkers are being flooded by White Hat military as I speak, all of which are now compromised, right, and targeted by Trump's forces. And even Elon Musk, working quietly alongside Trump's military, has weaponized Starlink into a global surveillance and strike system against the deep state, right, that they never saw coming. So the deep state has nowhere to go. Okay, as I speak right now, Starlink is actually monitoring what these, what's left of the deep state and what they're doing. Okay, so the deep state wasn't threatened by Trump because of his tweets. They feared him because he knew what they were hiding in those off the books Pentagon labs scattered across the globe. He knew what was being brewed in Ukraine, and that's the reason why Russia seized, or may I say, invaded Ukraine years ago, it was never about Russia trying to become a bigger empire. It was about taking out the biolabs. Let's just be real here, right? And saving all the little ones that were being tested upon in that area. And so Trump knew why they were, of course, labs also in Georgia, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Nigeria, disguised as health centers. Okay, these were not just centers for healing; they were actually command posts for what the elites were referring to as a global kill grid. Okay, and this is part of the depopulation agenda, which was now totally counteracted upon by the White Hats. So let's be absolutely clear, as of the 12th of May, as of today, checkmate, right? Checkmate. The evidence is no longer hidden, right? The whistleblowers inside the Department of Defense, defectors from the WHO, and leaked DARPA documents have all confirmed everything, okay? The Pentagon's WEAPONS labs are manufacturing genetically targeted VIRUSES, neurological agents, and skin transmitted parasites that were designed for mass population control. And thanks to the alliance, they failed. They failed. Okay. This is the operational doctrine of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, abbreviated DTRA, Defense Threat Reduction Agency, a Pentagon's division masquerading as a counter WMD initiative, when in reality it's the tip of the spear for global bioterrorism. Okay, they don't just stockpile diseases; they engineer them, right? Splice with CRISPR edits, CRISPR, gene editing. I did a whole report on that like a year ago. Viral load accelerators and DNA locking mechanisms. And now that Trump is back in power, not through rigged elections, of course, but through the reclamation of the republic by the constitutional military, the truth is flooding out, right? Executive orders are being unsealed. Military operations, once covert, are now striking openly. WEAPON facilities in Ukraine, Nigeria, Thailand, and Panama have already been seized or neutralized by joint operations between U.S. Special Forces and the Global White Hat Military Alliance, consisting of over 206 countries now. So we're doing good. We're moving strong here, guys. All right, the forces of light are moving strong, with Trump as the head. Okay, so under Trump's first term, multiple attempts were made to shut these labs down. Classified orders were drafted. Three-letter agency, C, starts at the C. Black budgets were audited thanks to Doge. Several foreign aid programs were quietly defunded. But in January 2021, when the fraudulent Brandon regime seized power through a globalist-backed electoral coup, the floodgates opened again. Okay. Billions in funding returned. Operations in Eastern Europe were reactivated. C-19 was just the beginning, a dress rehearsal for a full spectrum biological onslaught. Okay. And yeah, that was just the beginning. The elites were about to unleash more, where they were trying to achieve what was known to them as Agenda 2025 or Agenda 2030, which is by the time they got to 2025, which is now, at least over 50% of the world population would have been. And by the time they got to 2030, they would have accomplished what was written in the Georgia Stone Guidance, or the Georgia Guidestone, sorry, which is 95% of the population would have been. Okay. Yeah, that's what they were planning after 2020, guys. But if it wasn't for the alliance, and this is the proof that the alliance is real, if it wasn't for the alliance, right, they were going to be unleashing one V after another V. One V, right? V, you know what I mean, right? risks, right? One V after another V, right? Which would incur more of these and more people, right? Think about it. But the alliance was there to counteract every move. Okay. And now it's happening, guys. Now it's happening. And a lot of this has to do with the Trumps being time travelers, along with Nikola Tesla, who are actually able to neutralize every negative timeline that was going to lead to a 95% of the world population being okay. They were able to neutralize it. So now we are steady on a positive trajectory, right? A smooth transition into a golden era. All right. The golden age of America will precipitate the golden age of planet Earth. Okay. And it's happening now, right? Sudden, for instance, um, during the times that they rolled out that back in 2019, 2020, right? The Whiteheads were able to uncover that all of these illnesses, like sudden hemorrhagic, fever outbreaks in Ghana, parasitic skin infections in Laos, gene-specific viral mutations detected in Slavic populations in Poland and Serbia, a spike in neurological decay syndromes across Texas and Florida, that these were all due because of that. Okay. They weren't coincidences, not to mention, right? Not to mention all of the people that just dropped for no reason, athletes, right? We've all witnessed that. These were all tactical strikes, guys. Okay. It was going to be worse than this if it wasn't for the alliance. Okay. It was going to be worse. Okay. We wouldn't have been here right now. All of us right now, right? Only 5% of the population would have made it, and these people were probably part of the elites. Okay. And then also newly surfaced intercepts from NSA whistleblowers suggest that as of early as March 2025, which was a couple months ago, Pentagon linked cloud nodes in Germany and South Korea were coordinating the live testing of new biological vectors using data source from mRNA recipients, a chilling confirmation that the V, right, was not just a delivery mechanism, but a reconnaissance tool. A reconnaissance tool, okay? Reconnaissance tool. Reconnaissance tool. Thank you. Again, my first language was Spanish, so if I mispronounce certain words, is because I didn't learn English till I was about 5 or 6, 7 years old. Okay, guys. So I grew up speaking Spanish first, and then I have learned the English language. So I apologize if I mispronounce some words, but at least it's about the information that I'm releasing. Okay. So it was never about saving lives. It was always about biosurveillance, DNA collection, and soft kill operations rolled out under what? MEDICAL pretext, right? Pretext. Trump knew all about this from day one. Okay. He tried to expose it. And that's why Metabiota panicked. Metabiota panic. And that's why Hunter Brandon's name was tied to the Ukrainian labs. And that's why the fake impeachment trials were timed to block Trump's classified disclosure. So let's talk about Ukraine, all right? Not the war theater you see on the cable news, but the true war, all right? Which is now coming to an end, thanks to Trump. The destruction of Pentagon-backed biolabs after Russian and allied special forces uncovered experimental data on race-specific pathogens. And what did the US contractors leave behind in the scramble servers with the DNA logs? Aerosol dispersal maps for anthrax development in urban zones, human trial data showing infection to death rates for synthetic hemorrhagic viruses. Hemorrhoid hagic viruses. Hopefully, I pronounced that right. But let's go much deeper. Let's go much deeper. Let's go much deeper.
Hemorrhagic.
Hemorrhagic. That's how you pronounce it. There we go. Hemorrhagic, whatever that is. All right, let's continue here. All right, where was I? Where was I? Okay, so
You're at hemorrhagic.
right, I know. All right, there I am. Okay. So we're going to go a little bit much deeper. So why did you guys think that these labs exist in places like Armenia and Uzbekistan and Ukraine and Nigeria? Well, those were pretty much, you could say, strongholds of the cabal. Okay, they were strongholds of the cabal. And so were there level 4 labs protected by diplomatic immunity inside countries struggling with basic healthcare? It just made no sense, right? Why are African tribal communities, or why were they being offered money for DNA samples while mysteriously dying off unknown fevers, right? And they were dying off from mysterious unknown fevers. It's not because of philanthropy, that was just a lie. It's because the Pentagon is perfecting race targeted bioagents, okay? And these populations were test subjects. I'm sorry to say that. Africa has always been a test subject for these bio, you know, weapons, right? Let's just call them that, okay? Um, so, some of these populations that were test subjects, right? Livestock in a human experimentation program, that all made MK Ultra look like child's play. Okay, MK Ultra are experiments in mind control for those that are unaware of what that is. So let's not forget the real monsters behind the curtain, right? DARPA, Fort Detrick, the big gates, the World Health, starts with an O, the CD, and the Bilderberg Network, right? The BlackRock syndicates involved with insect allies. And yes, guys, a lot of these people are working with a group of aliens known as the insectoids. The insectoids have a different agenda than the draconian reptilians. The insectoids are also very evil, okay? They're very evil. It's about biological drones, guys. It's about developing what is called mechanical mosquitoes, right? Butterflies, dragonflies that are machines, right? And ticks that genetically modify to carry the RNA base kill codes and inject it in people. A lot of the times when we look at dragonflies, when we look at mosquitoes, those aren't biological, they are mechanical. And they were designed by these companies to inject a type of, you could say, kill code, RNA kill code in people. That's the best way to describe it. Okay. Um, these mosquitoes that look real are not really real biological mosquitoes. Okay. You guys could kill it if you guys want. All right. They are already being released in Florida and Texas, and they have been, unfortunately. And guess what's rise there? Okay. What's been rising there? Neurological disorders because of what these mosquitoes are injecting in people. Okay. They are automatons. That's the best way to describe it, right? So autoimmune breakdowns, sudden death syndromes, all attributed to what the mosquitoes, these mechanical mosquitoes, are injecting in people. The test zones are mapped, and they match with V data, V as in that leaked from 2021. The Global Kill Network was fully operational, but the Alliance has developed a type of technology to try to actually neutralize these automatons that we think are flies and mosquitoes, dragonflies, butterflies. They're not real. They are machines. They are microscopic little artificial mosquitoes. That's what they are. And it's being directed through the encrypted cloud networks tied to the DoD contractors, many of whom were quietly given access to civilian health data during the C, demic, right? Your genetic data, your status, right? Your biometric profile. So a lot of these things, what they're also doing is when these artificial automatons that we think are mosquitoes are landing on you, they're actually also extracting data, DNA, and they're bringing it over to the labs. Okay, so they're acting like you could say, what's the best word I'm looking for? Like a spice. They're acting like spies where they extract your DNA through your blood and they take it over to the lab because they're programmed, right? They're programmed to come back to the lab and drop off your DNA, your blood sample. Okay, so that's what these things have been doing. They want me to share this with you guys because not a lot of people know about this stuff. Okay, they're actually gathering genetic data from people. Okay, and so and that includes all indexed that are characterized and matched due to the appropriate vector weapon. Okay, so that's what that is. It is a weapon designed to not only get people sick, but also to collect data through blood samples and that they report back to the lab. Okay, can't believe I'm talking about this today. But again, they want me to share this with you guys. Okay, so let's continue here. Let's see. Am I done? Am I done with the report? I guess I am. I am. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. No Q&A. Bye. No, I'm just kidding. Hi, guys. I'm only kidding, of course. Yeah, that was the report today. I spoke for about 47 minutes. I hope you guys share this with as many people as possible. I'm going to go ahead and take some Q&A now. Let's see. Where is the live chat? Oh, there it is. I want to welcome Starlight in the house, Deborah, Wiz, Pauline, Sylvain, Tim Potter, Deborah Wiz, KP, Michael Greer, Eleanor, Overwhelmed 25-8, Thomas Flips, Light is Coming, Rebecca Boubet 11, Jose Mendez, Butter Pop, Roy's Toys and Comics, Overwhelm. I guess I've already said that. Rice is in the house. Drusilla Morello. Who else is in the house? Pauline, BNJ21. Yes, they are. These mosquitoes are like lab spies. Exactly. Thank you for pointing that out. They have been designed to be multitasked. And so, yes, if you guys are out in nature and you guys feel a mosquito land on you, chances are that this is a mosquito that was developed by DARPA. All right. Kill it immediately. All right. It's just a machine. It's just a machine. Let's see. I do want to welcome all. Is it me or do I actually have 3,000 people in the house?
You have 3,000.
All right, 3,000. This is the first time I've ever had 3,000 people in the house. So I just wanted to thank you guys for being here. And I do have a super chat. For a minute there, I thought I was seeing like 3,000. That's impossible. But it is possible. Okay, so Justine Joy QHHT is asking me a question. Her question is, if all the animals are ascending, does that mean that there will be no animals in the technocratic dystopia timeline? Very good question, Justine. And the answer to that is, in the technocratic dystopian timeline, there's only going to be mechanical beings or creatures. They're not going to be biological animals. All biological animals are going to be going into the organic timeline, right? So yes, the animals as we know them will not be in the technocratic dystopian timeline. Good question, Christine. I also have Coco Dawson. Thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate that, sister. Ed Chavalier is asking me, will mosquito repellent work on the machines? Probably not. Probably not. Like I said, if you guys feel like something lands on you, or if you guys are seeing a mosquito flying around you, or even if it's just a fly, try to kill it immediately. Okay. These aren't real flies, mosquitoes, butterflies, dragonflies. These are microscopic nanobots machines. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate each and every single one of you as well. Thank you so much for the love. I see all the hearts going up, all the likes. Awesome. You guys are beautiful people here. Yes, med beds. What Trump just announced yesterday regarding that huge 80% cut for the pharmaceutical companies and DRUG chemicals is going to totally collapse big pharma. And as a result of that, we are going to be seeing the replacement, which is advanced healing modalities. Okay. So that is great news, and I believe that was his big announcement that he's been kind of leaving us in suspense about for the last week, right? He was going to make a big announcement. Well, that I think that was it. So that's good news, guys. That's very good news, right? We could say that not only have the Rothschilds fallen as the military international white hat militia has taken over the Bank of International Settlements, right? Taking 300 trillion, but also the Rockefeller empire has fallen. Because what was holding the Rockefeller empire here in the States was no other than the Big Pharma. Big Pharma, okay? Ishmael, how do we talk to family and friends about this if they think we're crazy? This is a question from Portalo Wonder. Um, you don't. You wait for the disclosure to take place, right? When the White Hats reveal the truth to the general public, your family and friends that think you're crazy, that call you a conspiracy theorist, is actually going to apologize and then have you explain or make sense out of all this. Because some of them, due to their cognitive dissonance, it's going to be very hard for them to digest some of the footage and some of this information. So, as of now, try not to, don't even waste your breath with people that call you crazy. Great info, brother. This is from Tom from Canada. Thank you so much for that super chat, Tom. I appreciate that. This is a good question from Inspired Fitness 2012. Ishmael, are we being controlled and not know it? Are we being watched at home? Yes, this thing is constantly spying on you. If you guys own a television set, that's been spying on you for over 25 years, according to DARPA whistleblowers. So everything's being watched. Big Brother has been here for almost 30 years. Yes, correct. Wow, Lisa Lotte Lun Rodrick. What a long name. Thank you so much for that super chat. I appreciate that. Can you explain EBS, the emergency broadcast system? Well, that is when the White Hat military, through Project Odin and Starlink, take over the mass media, social media, all the airwaves, including radio, and constantly reveal information to to the world about what's been happening, what's been going on, the truth about everything. Okay, that's what the EBS is. It is known as the Emergency Broadcast System. Thank you, Michael Hazley. Thank you so much for that, Zell. Appreciate that. Thank you, Maggie Bodine, for that super chat. Thank you. Thank you. So I have 3,021 people in the house. That's amazing. That is amazing. Thank you. Well, let's see. The bugs are at my house if anyone wants them. Okay. This is from Aloe. The moon is a big metal ball, right? Absolutely. Yes. The current moon that we have, for the record, is fake. It is an artificial construct. It's not biological in nature. The original biological moon was destroyed about 50,000 years ago when the Atlanteans were seduced by Enki, and Marduk, his son, used it to implode it over the Lemurian civilization. And so now we are left with a fake moon. So the moon up in space that we see is not real. It's not a living celestial being like the earth is, like the sun and all the planets. It is a fake artificial construct. It has no consciousness. And it is hollowed, by the way. It is hollowed. Somebody's referring me to or suggesting that I watch the movie Moonfall. All right, I will. I'll watch it. Yes, Rebecca Boubet 11 says that the moon is a spaceship. Well, it's a little bit more than that, but yes, it was hauled in from the Rigel system by the negative Anunnaki approximately 50,000 years ago to kind of keep us trapped in this 3D reality, right? So, by virtue of that, yes, it is also a spaceship. The moon could be piloted, it could space navigate, but it's also a type of, you could say, massive surveillance device used by the Anunnaki to report to the Draco and Regal system, their draconian overlords, what's happening on Earth. But recently, the moon was actually taken over by the Alliance, so we don't have to worry about the negative ETs still existing there. They were taken out by our own super soldiers within the last few years. So that includes the colonies on the moon, the Lunar Operating Command, the Lunar Defense Station. All of those colonies were actually taken back by Solar Warden. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. Yes, that's true. Without a moon, there would be no tides. And I think that's one of the positive reasons why the moon, even though it's fake, was necessary. David Essington, thank you so much for the super chat, brother. Ishmael, can you confirm that it will Saint Sarah Tamar Christ, Joshua Mary M's oldest, will be in charge of guarding the 3D AI inorganic timeline, the tribulation for 1,000 years, Christ. Um, I'm not familiar with all these other names, but what I do know is that a direct descendant of Christ, through the bloodline of King David and Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and the 144,000 will be the ones that are going to be in charge in the millennium, or what we call the golden age of peace and harmony. So it'll be a council, but they will be at the head of that council. And the 144,000 are going to be the new council of the earth, the new guardians of the earth. That I could testify to. Yes, absolutely. But as far as like all these other names, M, oldest, you mean Mary Magdalene's oldest? If you're referring to a direct descendant of the what we call the Holy Blood, Holy Grail, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Lisa Lotte Lon Rodick. Thank you so much for your super chat. She says, Ishmael, today the truth can change your life. Channel, uh, your life channel, come with a message from Ashtar, a final weaning about the 3 days of darkness. He said 10 days. What info, what info have you? Thank you. What info do I have? Are you referring to like what's the latest intel regarding the 3 or 10 days of darkness? Um, I believe it's all going to be precipitated by the first flash. Remember how there's going to be three flash? I've been talking about this for months. So for those that are ready to ascend, it could be any one of you. You will be receiving these amazing abilities. Okay, you will be part of the first waivers of ascending, and this doesn't mean you're going to disappear. All it means is that you're going to have ascended abilities. Okay, so yes, it has been confirmed by the Galactics that we are at the precipice of the first waivers that are ready to ascend. That is correct. Ishmael, have you time traveled yourself? Okay, well, I don't remember. I have no clue if I did or not. I have no clue. Maybe in my sleep, but not that I remember. Now, the reason why I don't think there's going to be a lockdown when they are disclosing the truth to the general public is because by then, all of the cabal members and those that are associated with the cabal, the deep staters and their lackeys and minions, they're all going to have been wounded up already. So as I speak, the white hat military is in the process of bringing down every person, every acquaintance, every lackey that is connected to these cabals. Okay, so that's the reason why I don't think there's going to be like a lockdown, because when you create a lockdown, it seems like it's almost like martial law. Okay, we don't want people to get the wrong impression, right? That fascism is taken over. So that's the reason why I don't think there's going to be a lockdown. So I guess we're going to all have to wait and find out. Thank you so much, Richard, for your super chat. EBS, EAS, the same thing. Yes, they are the same thing. And yes, that's correct. As reminded by Sherry Anderson, they will be broadcasting for about 10 hours a day. Um, and then every day, either 3 or 10 days, you will also be able to dial 912 for an emergency. 912. Okay, I didn't know about that. Thank you for sharing that, Sherry. Oh, I think she meant to say 911, right? 911. Okay, 912. Okay. Wide Awake says, I can't kill a butterfly. Well, if that butterfly is artificial and has been sent by these labs to extract DNA from you, um, as long as it's not a real butterfly, sense its energy. If it's got no energy output, then it's a mechanical creature. I'm looking for questions. So far, I only see people talking amongst themselves, which is okay. I'm looking for the questions at this time. Just type them in capital letters, please, so I could get right to them. Oh, this is a good one. Old School Ways is asking me, Ishmael, my wife passed away Tuesday. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences goes out to you. She died of the chemotherapy they gave her. Will the doctor who administrated it ever be held accountable? Absolutely. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, not all the doctors, all right, but a lot of these doctors are part of the deep state. I'm sorry to say that, all right? So I'm sorry to hear about your wife, by the way. May she rest in peace. But you know what? I mentioned this before and I'll mention it again. You will reunite with her in the new earth. Okay?
Mhm.
You will reunite with her in the new earth. Well, it was the FDA's fault. So the FDA and all those associated with the FDA will be held accountable for all this.
Chemo is sterilized mustard gas that's
Yeah,
approved by the FDA. Well, the FDA doesn't approve marijuana, and it has 34 different cures.
true, but I don't think I could say that on Fluff Tude. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, that's right, mustard gas. It's a poison. This is a good question from the world. They're asking people who are not ascending, are they also going to become millionaires and billionaires after the QFS is activated? Put it this way, as long as they're good people generally, which means at least 50% in service to others, yes, everyone is going to become a multimillionaire. Money is not going to be the issue anymore in the new world age, okay? Thank you so much, Portalo Wonder, for that super chat. What will the solar flash look and feel like when it happens? You know, for a long time, I used to think it was going to be like this flash of light in the sky. But as I started going inward, as I started asking questions to the galactics, they told me it was going to just be a shift in consciousness and an activation of dormant DNA. That we were just going to go from our current state of perceiving, understanding, and knowing within a blink of an eye into all knowing, having access to the Akashic, being fully telepathic, being capable of manipulating things with our mind, having telekinesis. That's how it's going to be. So it's going to be a shift in consciousness. Okay. It's going to be an internal shift. Good question, though.
And don't be worried about the solar flash. Don't be in fear. You should trust the sun. It knows what's in our highest, best good.
Yes, that is so true. Thank you for pointing that out. Don't worry about the solar flash. Don't fear the sun. The sun is a sentient being and it knows our hearts. Okay. So it's not here to destroy us. Put it this way, the triggers, the coronal mass ejections that are causing this shift in human consciousness, they're only out to get the bad guys. Okay. So as long as you're not a bad person, you literally have nothing to worry about. Okay. This is a good question from any day now. Ishmael, if we all get money, who will be doing the work? Humans are not going to be doing the work. There's going to be technologies in place, not artificial intelligence, but beneficial technologies as used by what I call in my class a type 2 level interstellar civilization that are going to be you doing all the manual labor, all the hard labor. Okay. So the world is going to be self generating, self producing itself. Everything's going to be at our disposal. Okay. So humans will no longer need to work. We're going to have advanced technologies that are going to do the work for us.
Trenton Williams super chat was skipped.
No, I answered it. Oh, wait, you're right. Thank you, Trenton Williams. I just received your super chat. Sometimes it's a little delayed on the iPhone. Your question is, you said in your Saturday Night Live that starseeds will look like their higher selves after the shift, and that is correct. For example, a Pleiadian, but what will you look like if you are multiple things, a hybrid soul? You'll be able to shape shift. All right. You're going to be using the power of your light body to modulate your frequency into manifesting any form you want. So, for instance, my eighth dimensional self is a white lion. I am a white feline, right? I have the body of a human, the face of a lion. So if I go to the eighth dimension, which I think I will, I'll have I'll look like a lion, but then I'll be able through the modulation of my frequency, right? I'll be able to shift back into my galactic self, which is my Pleiadian self in the fifth dimension, or I could go up to the seventh dimension and look like my Andromedan self, or I could go up to my ninth dimension and look like my Arcturian self, or I could go up to the 11th, 12th dimension and look like my God self, my Elohim self. Does that make sense? So, depending on which dimension you ascend to, you will be able to control the or modulate the vibrational frequency through your light body and change densities or go into different dimensions and look differently. Hopefully that makes sense. So, yes, a lot of us are soul hybrids. We have a little bit of everything, right? I have Arcturian in me. Just because I originated in Lyra doesn't mean I don't have Arcturian in me. I also have Andromedan in me. I also have, Centaurian in me, Pleiadian, Atlantean, Lemurian, so on and so forth. Good question, though, Tristan. Will I reunite with my father who died 50 years ago? So now what? Yes, because there is a passage in the Bible that states that even the dead will resurrect and reunite with their new celestial body, which is their fifth dimensional selves. So even if they passed 50 years ago, 70 years ago, the dead will be resurrected. But those that passed within the last 25 years, they're already there in the 50 world. Okay. They're already there in the 50 world. Tom, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, great info, brother. I think I've already read that. See, sometimes I get the same super chats. Let's see. Okay, this is a good question from Andrea Metti. She's asking, what about those whose consciousness is not ready for all the info that comes in with the solar flash? Are they going to crush and be hospitalized or even leave their physicality and die? That is a very good question. And that's why I put out the video about why there needs to be three flashes, because not everyone's going to be able to ascend during the first flash. If everything all happened at once, yes, this is what would happen. People wouldn't be ready uh, to receive all that information, right? To become like a quantum computer. It would be information overload, frequency overload. They would have internal combustions. So, to answer your question, that is the reason why the Galactics and under the direction of the Syrian High Council and the One Infinite Creator have decided to do it in three phases so that no soul is left behind. Because by the time the first phase happens, we're going to have disclosure, right? A revelation of information that was kept from humanity for thousands of years coming back to light. That's going to cost the second waivers and a larger number of people with a bigger magnitude and intensity from the sun to activate more people into the ascension, into the new earth. And then finally, but not least, there's going to be a third wave for those that are just fighting the disclosure and they still don't want to accept it. But in the end, they're going to have to make a choice if whether they want to go to the new earth, dimensions 4, 5, and 6, or stay behind into the technocratic timeline. Okay. So that's the reason why it's going to be happening. There's going to be three flashes for this very reason, for that very same question that you're asking, right? Because not everyone is ready to receive all of this light frequency vibration all at once. I mean, people could have They could blow their circuits. People could end up like vegetables, end up in the hospital if it all happened at once. That is so true. If someone goes to the eighth dimension, will someone in the fourth dimension be able to interact with you? No. However, the person that advanced to the eighth dimensional Earth, right? Because Earth has different versions. And by the way, each version of the Earth becomes more complex. It is neither round or flat, it becomes something else. So, as you go into the higher dimensions, you will have access to all the lower dimensions underneath you. So, somebody that ascends to the eighth dimension will have access to dimension 8 all the way down to 4. Somebody that goes to the fifth dimensional Earth will have access to the fourth. If you go to the sixth dimensional Earth, you'll have access to the 6, 5, and 4. If you go to 7, you'll have access to 6, 5, and 4, and 7. If you go to the 12th dimension, which some of you might, right? Those that are incarnated Elohims, right? From dimensions 10, 11, and 12, then you're going to have access to all the entire spectrum, all the dimensions. Thank you for all the love. I see all the hearts going up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all the likes. What about kids during ascension? This is a question from Daniela Ramallo. Welcome, Daniela. From what I've heard is that all kids, if they're kids, not teenagers, but all kids under the age of 13 are going to get a free pass because they still haven't reached the age of accountability. They're still pure in heart. So all the kids are ascending now. If they're teenagers, if they are good people, if they have good intentions, and even if they're going through a rebellious state, God knows the sun and God knows their heart. They will have a chance to ascend. And let me tell you guys, a lot of the teenagers these days are actually, they're advanced souls in human bodies. All right. They're what we call the crystal children. And they have been coming in since 2012. After 2012, there's been a huge influx of crystal children coming in. Okay. Not indigos, not rainbows, but crystal children. Are the spiders real insects or robots too? That is a good question. Um, I would say that some of them could be robots too. Be careful with them spiders. At this point, I would say that all insects have been weaponized. Not all of them, but a lot of so-called insects are, again, they were created in labs. Okay, they're not real. That's the best way to say it. Thank you so much, Catsy4253, for that super chat. She says, will it take a period of time for us to be able to ascend to higher levels? Or will it be easier once we get our DNA repaired or upgraded? That is a very good question. Let me think. Let me think. Will it take a period of time for us to ascend to higher levels? If you are part of the first wave of ascenders, that means that for the most part, your DNA is already been repaired. Okay. As I speak, we are all mutating at a cellular level. So when we ascend, oh, and by the way, when we ascend, we're not going to reach our full capacity. All right. We are going to, you could say, continue activating in increments because it's designed that way so that we don't go from 0 to 100 overnight. All right. We could also blow our fuse as a result of that. But what I do know is that it's going to take us about a few hundred years to almost 1,000 years to reach 100% of our full capacity. And let me tell you guys, what the type of beings that we are, the way we were designed as the potpourri of all universes, as the intergalactic zoo of DNA within our genes, Our powers are going to be magnificent. Okay, we are the master race that everybody's been waiting for. Okay, we are the chosen race, the chosen masterpiece within God's creation, and there's a reason why. And now you guys are asking me if snakes are robots too. Just use your discernment. Use your discernment, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Just think about this. Every living thing has an aura, an energy field that emanates from them. If they don't have an energy field, if they don't have an aura, that means they're not biological. They don't have a soul or consciousness, right? And that's the reason why we have an aura, because we have consciousness. If they are automatons, right? If they are robotic things, then they are just programs or just computers. They don't have a soul. They don't have an energy signature. This is a good question from Madeline Williams. What does the Holy Grail of bloodlines have to do with the Word made flesh among us after the order of Melchizedek? Is Buddha and other Indian ascended masters? Well, believe it or not, guys, the the bloodline, what we call the Holy Grail, is actually the pure celestial DNA that originated in Lyra. Okay, that is the original codex, the original humans that came from Lyra. So even the Buddha and the ascended beings are descendants of the same bloodline. Okay, they are descendants of the same bloodline. Let's see. Loretta Atkins or Attic says, "Are all Rh negative descendants of the royal bloodline?" They are, yes, they carry a high concentration of the royal blood. I think AB and O negative are the purest, though, out of the rest of the Rh negatives, to be exact. Good question, though. So many good questions tonight, guys. So many good questions. Ishmael, what do you know about fairies or the Fae? This is a question from Blade Runner 427. Welcome, Blade Runner. Well, they come from the sixth creation, the sixth creation. See, we're part of the 12th creation. So they originated in the sixth creation, which was about 700 billion years ago. So yeah, the fays are real, the fairies are real, and you could actually witness their presence around flowers, around gardens, or wherever there is nature, right? They're also known as the elementals. So they are part of the Devic kingdom, right? They're like microscopic angels, but yeah, they're very real. Just like dragons are real, right? They exist in a different dimension. And lately, guys, because the veil is lifting, our reality is bleeding into other realities. We're starting to see dragons in the sky. I saw a reel the other day where there was a dragon flying over San Diego and they caught it on tape. So, yeah, all of that stuff is real, by the way. What do you think of the lands beyond the ice wall? Well, if you're referring to the other unknown continents, those are advanced civilizations. They are civilizations that are thousands of years ahead of our civilization, okay? And a lot of those lands are actually remnants of ancient societies. There were the remnants that survived the civilization of Tartaria. remnants that survived the civilization of Lemuria and Atlantis, and even further than that, going back to Hyperborean dies millions of years ago. So those people are still living, and they are kind of like immortals because they have evolved. They have a high level of consciousness, okay? Not to mention a very high level of technological development. So that's my belief. Ishmael, when do you think ETs will be revealed to us? And could we be RTs from or ETs from Venus if a small child I wanted to go home to Venus years before Star Trek? I don't understand the second part of your question, Christina Nardasi, but the first part of your question, the Galactic Alliance is scheduled to make first contact in 2026, beginning sometime at the end of this year, but 2026 is the deadline. Okay. That's all I want to say. And I do have a super chat from Greg. He says, how did Mary give birth to Jesus if she was a virgin? Well, there are these things where celestials are coming down to impregnate humans, women humans, and that has always happened. Okay, that's part of how they create super soldiers, right? Or what we call hybrids, part human, part celestial. So Mary was impregnated by Archangel Gabriel. Okay, and that phenomena still continues into the presence, involving the creation of super soldiers for the secret space program. Some of the super soldiers are not just human, they are part human, part celestial. So there's a lot of cases where women get abducted, their eggs are extracted, and they get fertilized by celestials, by non-human entities. And then those eggs they plant them back into the womb, and she acts as a surrogate for these celestial beings who are impregnating them. So that is the same procedure that took place 2,000 years ago with Mary. So yes, she was a virgin, right? A virgin according to based on the idea that she never had intercourse with another human, but at the same time she was impregnated. She was taken aboard a ship, and her egg was fertilized by Archangel Gabriel, who is a 12-dimensional being. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. I do have another super chat from King Jeffrey Lambert. He says, do you know what kind of tech is the Lemurian plug? I've never heard of the Lemurian plug. Have you ever heard of the Lemurian plug?
Yeah, Simon Parks was selling that a long time ago, I think, on his website.
Yeah, what kind of tech is it?
It's like supposed to get rid of EMF in your room and stuff.
Okay, so I guess it's supposed to get rid of EMF in your room. But yeah, apparently Simon Parks was offering it through his website. That's what I heard. This is the first time I've ever heard of the Lemurian plug. I've never heard of it before. Jose Mendez is asking me, Senor Ismael, am I the only one that received a text from my star family in my cell phone? Is there anyone else here that has received a starseed name? Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. One more question, guys. We are at the top of the hour and 30 minutes. One more question. So what bloodline is O positive? Anything that is positive is related to the rhesus monkey protein, which means you have 3% of your genetics is related to the chimpanzees. Okay. No, O negative is not O positive. Let's see. One more good question before I end the live. What question should I pick? There's so many good questions. Do you know anything about Mintaka starseeds? Just general, not much. Mintaka was a watery world. Actually, no, there were a few planets that were revolving around the Mintakan star system. It was a star system with various planets, and those planets were very water based, and so a lot of the Mintakan star seeds were actually one of the first mermaids and mermaids, mermans and mermaids, and that's where the mermans and mermaids originated. Well, during the Orion Wars, apparently a lot of those planets were destroyed by the Dracos. Some of the surviving remnants of the Mintakan star system, which were the merman mermaids, went over to Sirius A, because Sirius A also has aquatic planets. And then some came over to our planet, and they coexisted with the Atlanteans and Lemurians. So there you guys go. All right, guys, I hope you guys have a beautiful evening. Don't forget to hit the like and share this with as many people as possible. And may the God Force be with you. We will see you in 2 nights for another update. God bless you all.